Hi there, this is Mrs. Hanson, part of the learning support team for our 6th grade students. But I want to talk to you, the learning coaches, about how to support your students during the CDT, no matter what grade they're in. So first off, you might have the questions about why we're using the CDT, also known as the Classroom Diagnostic Tool. Well, because it is a diagnostic tool, it's designed to help figure out the exact level of each student. And it really helps the teachers answer the question, how can I help your student the most? Which is why we want you to have your students take their time and support them in some really basic test taking skills. So first off, let's take a deep breath and accept that yes, it's long, but they have the entire day to do it. So this assessment is adaptive. It adjusts its level down or up to their individual performance level. So if your student starts rushing in the very beginning, they're going to be getting some low-level content. We're not going to get a great feel for their actual performance. It does cover all grade level content areas, which means sometimes there might be a few questions that are a little bit too hard for your student, but we've got to be exposed to those to know for sure. You can encourage your student to take as many breaks as they need. After all, they have the whole day. Encourage them to get a drink of water or go do some physical exercise, pet an animal, whatever their de-stress tool is. Expect to take at least an hour for each test. If you see your students finishing before an hour, there's a good chance they weren't giving it their honest effort. Now, you know your students best. In a literacy test, because of the reading, we expect about an hour to 90 minutes. The math test, again, should be at least an hour. So there's a lot you can do to just give them, general support. Make sure they're sitting upright at their desk. Make sure they've got their headset on. Make sure they've got a quiet place to be working. Make sure they've had a healthy breakfast to start, maybe even a snack partway through. Now let's get into some specific details about how you, the learning coach, can support the literacy test without giving answers. So here are some skills, some observable things you can look for in your student. Does your student scroll to the bottom of the text and spend time reading? Does your student look back to the text box, scroll again before answering each question? Now, in this test, students read a passage and then have 5 questions about the same passage, but they should be looking back before they answer each question. Now, if reading on the computer is a challenge for your student, there are a couple of tools, helpful tools. Prompt your students to use these tools. There's a line guide. It moves down with you step by step. There's also a magnifier to make things nice and big. Those tools will be up at the top of the CDT screen. If you see your student struggling, encourage them to use it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about that math test. Again, you're not giving your student answers, but you can promote good habits. Does your student have paper, pencil, calculator within reach? Does your student write down some of the math problems? Probably most of them. And if they write down the math problem, do they continue to write after they copied down the problem? Or continue to work something out in their calculator after they copied down the problem? Do they take 2 to 3 minutes to think about the problem before submitting an answer? If they're spending less than a minute on one of these math problems, something's probably not right. Now, not all math problems will need to be written down, so, take that into account. How about the science test? How can we support the science test? Again, good habits, like does your student scroll to the bottom of the text? Does your student look at and spend time considering the diagrams? Does your student take 2 to 3 minutes to think about the problem or the question before submitting an answer? Now, students will usually finish the science test the quickest, and that's just the nature of that particular assessment. So thank you. Thank you for helping us gather very valuable information